Hello and welcome to another episode of Wrestling Tea Tarot, the channel where we try to look beyond the kayfabe and behind the booking to find some truths in the world of professional wrestling. As always, this is allegedly for entertainment purposes only. We have no specific factual knowledge about what's going on inside the industry. We just enjoy pro wrestling and enjoy using oracle cards and divination to try to gain some insights behind the curtain of kayfabe. As always, I am Jude. My partner Calypso Vibes is here with me, and today we are going to look at Tony Khan, the owner, CEO, booker. I don't know what other hats he's wearing. The boss man for All Elite Wrestling. Whether you're a fan of the program or not a fan of the program, most likely you are aware of some of the locker room drama and ups and downs that have happened at least since starting in September of 2022 with the post All Out media scrum, which later became known as Brawl Out because of the fight that allegedly ensued in CM Punk's locker room that led to CM Punk and the Elite all being stripped of their belts and folks stepping away from the company for a bit. CM Punk has not yet returned, but he is expected to return in June of this year. And the rumor is that there will even be another television program, and quite possibly the roster is going to be split such that those who will work with Punk are on one program with CM Punk, and those like the Elite who do not want to work with CM Punk are on a different program. My goodness, it's a mess. I think in general, AEW programming has been kind of a mess of late. Of course, has some high points, but I think most people who watch the program, especially if you're fans of any of their signings, really, whether that's signings from WWE like Bryan Danielson, or signings from New Japan like Jay White, or even Jay Lethal, who's been, all over the industry, I think almost unanimously these folks are not being used to their potential, and people are kind of scratching their heads why. And I think most of the experts who have their own podcasts and whatever, who come from the industry, look back and they say Tony's doing too much, or Tony is, being a booker is not his expertise, or he's too buddy with some of the talent. Whatever it is, everybody has their own thoughts. So we're just going to take a look at Tony specifically, what's going on with him personally, and maybe what the future holds in terms of success or drama or whatever it may be. First of all, Tony Khan is a Libra. Being a Libra myself, I know the struggle. So first of all, you have an eagle's eye for beauty. However, you are ruled by emotions and can get stuck when it comes to think practically. Also regarding Libras, this house of Venus represents marriage and partnerships of all kinds and issues relating to other people. Tony is not being successful as the head of talent relations. He's too soft on the people that he's friends with. He doesn't seem to be prepared to face confrontations head on, and he's the boss of the company, so it's his job to face confrontations head on. But he's ruled by his emotions. He's a lifelong wrestling fan, so part of the time he's booking based on what he thinks is cool. Part of the time he's booking on, what his industry friends in the locker room or the EVPs think will be cool because he wants them to be happy. But I think the ratings numbers show that this approach is not getting him the business success that WWE has had. And obviously AEW is a promotion that's only 4 or 5 years old now. WWE, if you go all the way back to like the WWF, we're talking like 50, 60 years old. So obviously there's a huge head start, but the approach to how talent and booking are handled is completely different with a guy like Tony and a guy like Vince McMahon, who is a Virgo and is all business, completely success and results driven. Tony wants people to be happy. He doesn't want confrontation. Of course, he also has a lot of balls in the air, right? He has other business ventures that he is actively involved in. So it's a very different approach. Tony Khan's life path number is 22, which is a master number, and you don't see it all that often. 22 is referred to as the master builder. Security, sensitivity, and creativity. Visualize a grand concept of life and make it a reality. Well, I think that's exactly what AEW is, right? It's his dream project. It's absolutely a labor of love. This goes back to him being a kid and playing with his action figures and doing his fantasy booking in his notebooks. And that's not a bad thing, right? He has visualized this, and, with some help from his family's resources, it has really made it a reality. And sometimes they're putting out great content, and one would think, hey, we can take these guys seriously as a rival to the biggest promotion on the planet. Other times, not so much. That's sort of in the eye of the beholder. I think, whatever you think of it, the people who like AEW like the things that AEW does. Which, know your market, I suppose. But if you want to be global on the same level that WWE is, time will, I guess, tell, and we'll see if the cards tell us anything about that. Destiny number. This is based on his birth name. That number is 3. Through self-expression and artistic talent, such as writing, speech, singing, you will be known for motivating others and filling life of those around you with joy and happiness. Like I said, he is a people pleaser, right? He wants his buddies to be happy. He wants them to want to come to work and, and perform. And for the people that he's been successful with, he has been very successful. To the people who maybe have a more serious background in the business, the results have been mixed. And finally, the power number of 7. Reevaluate what it means to work with introspection, spiritual contemplation. Work with your deep need to know yourself through solitude and specialization, scientific study, or philosophical thought. I'm not going to claim that this is what I think of Tony Khan, but I do think this is probably something that would benefit him. Especially that term specialization. I mentioned earlier, he is wearing too many hats. He needs to delegate some of these responsibilities to people who specialize in doing the things that need doing. And I think taking better account of that power number and the advice it gives would probably see an improvement in the business side. But that's the sort of the groundwork, the astrology and numerology. Let's jump into our first oracle deck here, which is one that we use quite often here at Wrestling Tea Tarot, the Yin Yang Oracle. See what this one wants to drop for us. Again, we're looking at Tony Khan and the success or issues related to his business, All Elite Wrestling. And in case anyone watching thinks that I'm overly critical of AEW, no, I must be a hater of AEW. If you can see it there, I know we don't show too much of ourselves, but I am wearing an Inner Circle shirt. I was a huge Inner Circle fan, and probably one of my biggest beefs with All Elite Wrestling is what they did to just shoot holes in the inner circle, and what they've done with all of those guys, especially Proud and Powerful. Man, I miss those guys. But that's my personal view about the content. Obviously, the inner circle hasn't been around under that name for quite a while. I do still watch the product. In fact, I should be watching it right now because I believe Rampage is coming on right around this time, being on a different day of the week this week. They've been moved all over the place because of the NBA playoffs and finals. Let us know in the comments. Did you like the Jericho Appreciation Society, or did you, like me, prefer the Inner Circle? Let's see if we can get a couple more cards to drop out of this deck. I see we've got about half a dozen. Take that one too. And see what this deck has to say to us. Okay, first off, chemistry, magnetic, passion, mutual feelings, and drawn to someone. I think that those who are like-minded at AEW, and especially if their mindset in the business is similar, not even the business, but the performance, the content is similar to Tony's, they have great chemistry, right? So Tony and the Elite seem to kind of be Pete and repeat, right? They're four peas in a pod, and if that isn't the content or the what you think of as pro wrestling, you might be on the outside looking in. Autumn, Harvest. This is a timing card. The past is over. Starting over, soul growth, clearing, and new intentions, right? It's time to harvest some of the work that they've put in. I am still not convinced that Brawl Out wasn't a work. I believed it was a work at the time. I told anyone who would listen I thought it was a work at the time. And now that we're on the eve of CM Punk coming back, I still think it's a work. It is time to harvest the work that's been put in. The past is over. If there is genuine beef among any of those guys, it's time to clear it, have new intentions, start over. And, some of them, and call me a CM Punk apologist, but I'll say Punk included, need to experience some growth, right? Some soul growth, where just as seriously as you take the business and you're the veteran and you're the expert, you don't need to respond at every shot that's sent your way. But the time is coming, apparently about 2 months from now, to reap what they have sown, and the timing is coming into its own. Toxicity, Bound. Oh gosh, Devil card, Addictions, Patterns, Energy Vampire, Trauma Bond, and Stuck. I don't know if this is Tony or if this is just the locker room in general, but so many rumors and kind of quiet reports that have come out about again, if you're not in this clique versus that clique, it's probably similar to what people used to say in 1996, 1997 about Shawn Michaels and 1995 maybe about Shawn Michaels and the clique, when those guys kind of ran the locker room. And if you weren't on their squad, you were on the outside. But you see this Devil card, Addictions. Who's got addictions? Well, depending on what you think about the CEO's facial expressions and eyeballs when he's doing these media scrums, you can think what you want about that, allegedly for entertainment purposes, but there have absolutely been patterns of behavior. People are traumatized in that locker room because of some of these toxic relationships. And gosh, when I see this Energy Vampire card, I hate to say it, I immediately think of Chris Jericho, because he vampires every new talent that comes up. It's almost a rite of passage. You got to give Jericho a couple pints of blood on your way up the ladder. And rumor is, if/when CM Punk comes back, he might be going into a program with Jericho. So they're stuck with him, right? Jericho's got a long-term contract now, and again, I'm not hating on Chris Jericho. I love who Chris Jericho was. You know, I love You Made the List. I love Y2J. I love Lionheart, the Painmaker, all of that. But the current JAS version of Chris Jericho, like the Wizard and then the Jericho Appreciation Society, not for me. And I don't like how that seems to have affected things in the business. Next, we've got epiphany, shift, breakthrough, realizations, a sudden wake-up call, and energy shift. Okay, there are changes coming, right? We talked about this autumn card over here, the timing. By the time Punk allegedly is going to be coming back in June, and please also do check out our video about CM Punk specifically, people have obviously made some realizations that you can't let, you know, the person who should be your top star and was making real differences to the company's bottom line sit home not getting paid, right? If he's healed up and he's cleared to come back to work, you want CM Punk back as the face of your company, or at least a face of your company. Next, ego, mind, vanity, pride, the status quo, appearances matter, bound to expectations or approval, right? There's Tony's relationship with the Elite again. And, you know, there are plenty of other big egos and stuff in the locker room. But that status quo of the Elite being on top and calling all the shots, it needs to be shaken up, right? That shift needs to happen in order for the business to grow and advance. Yes, that bound to expectations of, oh no, you know, the Young Bucks run the tag team division and they call the shots there. And Kenny runs the women's division and calls the shots there. Guess what, Tony Khan, you're the boss. So start calling the shots. And if you're going to delegate those responsibilities to someone, they shouldn't be in-ring performers. Next, we got self-love, creation, intentions, focus on desires of the heart, self-worth, expansion, and manifesting. Tony needs some self-love because he's running himself ragged. And this is only in allegedly entertainment purposes, but if he's, you know, got some chemical dependency issues going on, or whatever substances give him that feral look in the eyes when he's sitting on camera, you know, apply that self-love, manifest something healthier for yourself, because he's not at his best. Reflecting and shadow work, soul searching, deep introspection. This is more of the same, right? And we're talking about hermit energy, which is one of the things that we saw in that power number card. You know, deep introspection, solitude. To some degree, you got too many people in your ear, you know, whether that's the Elite, whether that's Jericho. I'm sure CM Punk is being very vocal about he will and will not do or accept. And that's just the people I can think of off the top. Tony needs to reflect on what his real vision is, and again, not make this the Tony and Friends show of trying to make everybody happy, because you are never going to make everybody happy. There's too many egos, too much pride and vanity. You cannot maintain this status quo. Next, we've got the Air card, mental clarity, communication, breakthrough, decisive action, epiphany, sudden truth, plans. We've seen all of these words already, right? Breakthrough, epiphanies, the plans and action. This is the Ace of Air. Correct me if I'm wrong, Calypso. Libra's an air sign, yeah? We're airheads?
Yes.
There you go. Tony Khan is an air sign. By the way, so is Kenny Omega, also an air sign. Because Kenny is also a Libra, and they're over here blending with two very strong fire signs. Chris Jericho and CM Punk are Scorpios, right? Air and fire. Well, fire consumes air, right? So, yeah, these
it makes an explosion.
And it makes an explosion. Karma, justice, balance. There's literally the Libra card. If you can see it there, the astrological sign for Libra is right there. Weighing things out, cause and effect, choices. Wants to make things right. He is a people pleaser. He's trying to please everybody, but he's also trying to do this fairly. It's a complicated task. There's a lot of things to weigh out. So I think that first deck, well, gosh, I probably could have and practically did say all those things before we started, shuffling and these cards popping out. This is very much what, we have known and heard about the AEW locker room and about Tony's relationship with the locker room. So let's look at for a little tea in the situations right now. This is probably the one, for lack of a word, petty deck that I'm going to look at, just because there is allegedly so much drama in that locker room and behind the scenes. Let's see what's going to come out. So far, we've got early stages and slow and steady. All right, this is a marathon. This isn't a sprint. So while I don't agree with, they're only 4 years old, they're only 5 years old, cut them some slack. They are truly in the early stages, and there's, a lot more that they can do. And they're already talking about putting a third television program on the air. Right? That's a new innovation that they're looking to begin. Drop that one out. What else we got? Looking for some insight about Tony Khan and All Elite Wrestling. Tony Khan, All Elite Wrestling. Again, this is allegedly and for entertainment purposes. We are Wrestling Tea Tarot and appreciate you watching. What else has this deck got for us? We got, about 6 cards out so far. Let's shuffle through here another once or twice. If nothing else drops, we'll say that 6 is what we're meant to see. Oh, there's one. Okay, last pass through. Okay, let's see what we got. Try to get these more or less the way we saw them fall. So I already talked a little bit about this early stages and slow and steady, which fell together, right? They're looking to make some changes, going to be in the early stages, or the new innovation of possibly putting yet another program on the air. And even though they've accomplished quite a bit, they are still in the early stages as a promotion. Maybe they should be taking it a little slower. It seems like having 3 programs on the air, plus your YouTube series.
Yeah, I think it's actually guaranteed that it's called Collision.
Yes, Collision is the word that they've got trademarked. Plus they've got their, behind the scenes reality programming, if you're into that sort of thing.
I think a lot.
They might need to pump the brakes a little bit. But again, Tony is a creative guy, right? He's got the resources and the business connections to put these things in motion. he's really going, full bore forward.
But I also think it's Warner Brothers because allegedly they want some of WWE programming.
There is the rumor that Warner Brothers Discovery is interested in possibly licensing Raw or some other programming,
And
which
directly compete.
Which what would that even mean for their relationship with AEW, right? It's not like, oh well, I've got this this sitcom and I've got this other sitcom. No, I mean these are like businesses. The television program is just sort of one of the products behind this overall promotion. It's a big deal if you've got them in competition with one another. We've got the helping hand card, favors and support. I think Tony both receives help from, his father, who, is the one who made all this money initially, and probably business connections that he has. But I think he genuinely does try to give help and support the people that he likes, which is why so many talents that, if you're being honest, would not be making anywhere near this kind of money in other promotions.
They're grossly overpaid.
Are really just receiving this handout because for whatever reason Tony likes them, or they were they were there at the launch of AEW, so we feel some loyalty, whatever that is, right? But we know as a Libra, he struggles with balance in those relationships where, yeah, okay, I appreciate what you did. You don't have to be on the company dole for the next 10 years. Fertility, good times, or possibly sexuality. So look, we've got the bunny and the chick over here. Okay, we just passed Easter, but again, this is new life, new endeavors. No pun intended with WWE and competition. But these are times of rapid change that needs to be balanced with, again, a tempered hand on the throttle. Libras are supposed to be about balance, but we do struggle with it. So, and I think Tony absolutely struggles with it. We got home and family, right? He wants to, of course, do right by his family, but he also wants this family sort of atmosphere in his locker room, and he doesn't have it, right? He's got too many, where's that ego card, right? Too many egos. He's not, this looks like the Full House from back in the 80s. He's not going to get that, right? There's too much chaos. We got restrictions, uncertainty, and blockages. If you have half your roster that don't work with your biggest star, that's a restriction and a blockage, right? Calypso, as mentioned before, it looks like this one bird is kind of gatekeeping the other bird out, right? It's a bottleneck, and it's preventing the flow. It's preventing the creative energy in the company. It's preventing them from making money, which at the end of the day, that's what they need to worry about. And we've got feathered chickie over here, these other birds here, and now hang your wings, misbehaving and naughty. Again, allegedly for entertainment purposes.
I think that Tony is not as wholesome as everybody keeps seeing him as.
I don't know what Tony gets up to in his spare time, but we saw the addiction devil card. Where'd that one go? The bound card over here, right? Addictions, energy vampire, stuck, trauma, devil card. Okay, but whatever kind of addictions are going on, and again, I'm focused on Tony here, but his business is a part of him. It needs to be kept in check, right? That this says hang your wings, like, oh no, go ahead and be misbehaving and naughty. It looks like the wings are hung up, right? And this can be a blockage, right? That's another bottleneck to that growth. Put it together with the have fun, party, lighten up. right? Memories, nostalgia, and the past. Think, maybe right now it's wearing on Tony. He's not having the fun that he was maybe having in the first year with the companies. Like, oh gosh, I didn't know that dealing with these grown men making all this money was going to cause drama and headaches for me. This isn't as fun as I thought it was going to be.
You not have this because people, and I mean this in the most nice way. You have this and this. People want the tea on, is he doing this? And that's only in this deck to see if he's doing what a lot of people accuse him of. Or situations have a card like that?
I'm pretty sure it does, but no, we'll take the tea deck. Let's go ahead and jump in here with
this
the tea
deck. This
deck.
is for you guys. He's trying to keep it wholesome.
I really was.
I
was trying to look. I was trying to look at the business, trying to look at the successes that are coming and maybe the headaches that he's facing.
Guess what? You did that for the first two decks. Now we want the tea. I'm over here like a viewer too. I wanna know what's Tony Khan really doing behind
Look,
the scenes.
when Calypso's right, she's right, y'all. Be sure to thank her in the comments section if we get anything juicy out of this tea deck. Thank you, Calypso, for bringing it out. I don't know if I'm going to do the Egyptian deck, but I'm absolutely still going to do the gold deck because, again, this is business, right? We're looking at the money. We're looking at the success of the business.
Well, you didn't see all of it. I mean, he's a head figure like Vince McMahon. Like, if you chose to do 5 decks, even if you only shrunk the amount you pull from them, I think everybody wants the tea on Tony Khan. He's just as big as Vince McMahon right now. Especially with all the rumors of Punk, another show, them doing Wembley. Like, the tea is hot on Tony Khan. And yeah, I don't find him that interesting, but the tea is hot on Tony Khan.
The tea is hot, right? He absolutely presents a very bland Republic, and then maybe that's to say, oh no, nothing to see here, right? He's not coming out looking like the guy tying Penelope to the railroad track. Saying you must pay the rent, but I can't pay the rent.
Right. Because I definitely think there's a different person like that.
What was it John Oliver said? He looks like he's going to challenge someone to race around the world in a balloon.
Like, I'm just saying, like,
ooh.
By the way, I'm with a Libra. I date a Libra, and y'all are no different than like a Gemini with 2 faces and 2 sides. How are you in your heyday? Imagine you with a lot of money in your heyday.
Well, look, I'm going to leave it to y'all to buy your own cards and do readings on me if that's what you're interested in.
That's all I'm saying.
It's a heavy deck. It's, it's not actually throwing a lot out to me.
Other than child services.
Other than this child services card.
I mean, they be having children in the back of the locker room sometimes where I'm looking like, this is the environment y'all have children around. Like, this very mature locker room.
You get out the purple deck.
The purple deck.
Yeah. All right, we're going to look at these real quick. And then I'm going to try to shuffle that purple deck because this deck is a little heavy in my hand right now. But we got the child services. Kids at risk of being taken or is about to, reporting something, neglect and abuse.
Or is that the locker room? Is a bunch of children.
Right. CM Punk has said many times it's like working with children, right?
Yes.
Too busy winning. Does Tony feel that he's really winning that hard? Maybe he does, right? He might be exceeding the expectations that he had coming in terms of just the growth of the business. And that's fair, right? To 5 years in to have quite a bit of programming on television. You're going to be doing one of the biggest stadiums in the world with Wembley later this year. If he has the talent lined up for it, he probably is feeling very strongly about where he's going.
And maybe his dad thinks so, that he's doing
and
better
maybe
than he expected.
right. I mean, Shad Khan has run the Jaguars for how long, and they're finally any good?
Right.
So, yes, AEW is growing on a successful trajectory, much faster than the Jacksonville Jaguars did. I'm not hating on the Jaguars. That's just the facts. We also have this moving card. So again, they're moving up in terms of going after bigger venues. I doubt very much that
And bigger talent.
And bigger talent, but I doubt that they're moving their base of operations. But they are definitely making moves, right? Whether that's trying to sign more big names or to take up more real estate on television. And lastly, this grudge holder, that could be just about anybody, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it's not Tony Khan, because yes, Libras are people pleasers, but Libras don't forget anything.
Actually, he's really pissed with WWE because he felt like he was playing nice with them, and he felt like now they're stepping on his toes.
So, yes, Tony, I think, has an axe to grind. Whether that's with WWE, as Calypso just said, which is absolutely true, or he's been embarrassed by some of his top talent, sitting right next to them on TV. I personally, like I said, I feel like that brawl out media scrum was a work, that CM Punk would not have done that with Tony sitting there, and Tony doesn't say anything about it. But look, if I know Libras, and I do, Tony would just sit there, hear all of that crazy, greasy talk out of Punk, and just keep a mental note of everything, and be like, yeah, you're gonna pay in some kind of way. Let's see if there's any more tea to be had from a different deck. We're gonna move this one out of the way just so it doesn't get too crowded over here.
Hopefully it talks a little more when we talk.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Again, if you've been watching our other videos, and I hope you do, you know that we have, we've probably shown about 10 different decks, which doesn't really scratch the surface of what we have available. But we do like to keep some variety, and different decks have different purposes as we are, constructing the answer to the questions we're looking for. In this case, what's going on with Tony Khan? What's the tea? Backstage at AEW. What's the future hold business-wise? This one's loosening up. I think we're gonna get something, but
don't strangle it.
Well, I'm holding it probably. Whoop. Tell you what, let's look at those. Shuffle through here once or twice more, but we might just go with this 6 or 8, whatever that is that just fell.
If he's stopping someone,
that was like 15 cards.
Yeah, they was right there. Y'all synced it, right? He's
I'm sure they can see it. I try very much to keep my hands and my shuffle in frame, so it's obvious that's what we're doing. All right, last go. All right, we'll stick with what we've got. Thank you. See what all jumped out of here. Okay. On fleek, feeling you got it going on, a state of completeness, perfect, flawless, on point. That was Goldberg, right? When I did the reading on Goldberg yesterday, the day before, the on fleek.
Mm-hmm.
Again, there's rumors that Big Bill Goldberg might be all elite in the near future. I pulled this exact card when we were looking at Goldberg, but they feel like they've got it going on. Perfect, flawless, and on point. think they're doing something right. Oh, bye Felicia, leaving and not caring, goodbye for now, dismissing, over it, whatever. I don't know if that's got to be the approach with the talent who are unhappy about the way things are going. If it is, well, I mean, Kenny has implied he's not going to be around forever, right? Similar to what Will Ospreay said in that video. The machine can't keep working forever, and it's not a machine, it's a human body. In their feels, caught up in your feelings, letting emotions control you, emotional, deep feelings. We literally, one of those first cards describing Libras talked about letting emotions control you, right? That it's not the way to handle your business. And like I said about that grudge holder card, Tony's feelings are very much invested in this because, again, this is a dream of his. Clap back, making a comeback, don't be a doormat, fight back, come back, return, fire, or diss. Sorry, that was return fire, not a return, comma, fire. They're absolutely trying to take shots at WWE, right? Whatever talent they're going to put on at this Wembley show needs to be big time, needs to be decisive. I've already said I think Saraya versus Jamie Hayter for the belt will put a huge number of behinds in the seats in Wembley because they're both, they're both English women and they're both very, very popular. And if the rumors are true about Bill Goldberg coming around, you know Goldberg's money, right? Whatever you think about him, people will buy tickets to see Goldberg. In the UK, that doesn't get a lot of major promotions showing up to do their pay-per-views, will show up, okay? If you saw the way they filled Cardiff last year when the WWE did Clash at the Castle, they had overwhelming turnout and they went home angry. Right. I think if Tony, looks like he's open to giving the fans what they want, they will be there. And I think Tony caves to the will of the fans more than the WWE
does.
I
think that's why that would be a good clapback. I want to get my take, though.
Please do.
I think you're going to get either Goldberg versus Punk or Goldberg versus MJF. I think it's smarter to go Saraya versus Mercedes because I did Mercedes reading and that Forbidden Door looked there.
Right, well, Forbidden Door is a lot sooner than that.
Yes, but I'm saying if you go through the Forbidden Door, you may end up in Wembley.
No, fair enough.
That's all I'm saying. I think Saraya and Mercedes is a bigger money draw. And then, hear me out, but you can still have Hayter fight for her belt against Britt Baker. Because I think that is smarter to go. Because everybody, I don't know why that hasn't happened. Because if you see...
Write it down, folks.
Britt Baker got her butt beat. Where was Jamie Hayter?
Where was Jamie Hayter?
See? Look at there. You know what I mean? All I'm saying is, that way you get two fed women that don't have to interact with the belt. And you get Britt Baker and Hayter fighting for the belt. I'm just saying, that's how you book and sell Wembley Stadium out. And you have FTR with Punk versus The Elite. And they need to do the business and stop playing.
They need to do the business.
That's right. My Wembley sellout.
Where was the card that said new beginnings, put it behind you? It was in there. They need to do business and focus on getting those bags. Viral, message getting around quickly, becoming instantly famous, popular, network, lucky break. Right? The whole wrestling world at least, was talking about that all-out media scrum, right, and all the fallout from there. Anything related to CM Punk has gotten huge coverage in wrestling media. As Calypso just said, Mercedes Moné, Sasha Banks, huge coverage in wrestling media. We'll know, in about 6 hours from now, probably 6 to 8 hours from now, whether she retains her belt in New Japan and is staying with New Japan, or is going back on the free agent market. But the signs are really pointing to her staying, keeping that belt, which absolutely would set up Forbidden Door style bookings that would get a lot of interest. Love bombing, showered with attention to influence someone's behavior, manipulation, and hidden intentions. I'm sure Tony is absolutely courting whatever free agents he can. We saw he brought in Jay White. Whatever you think of what's gone on these past 2-3 weeks since Jay White has been in the company. Poorly booked. But he is absolutely showering affection on the people he wants to either keep or bring in. Because again, he is a people pleaser. He doesn't just want to be the boss, he wants to be the buddy. And that is one of his biggest weaknesses in this entire situation. Spilling the tea, something juicy, hidden truth, disclosing information, slander, gossip, shocking, untrustworthy. I mean, this is all, fans of AEW have talked about since September of 2022, right? What is all this tea coming out of the locker room? Oh, is it Punk's fault? Oh, is it the Elite's fault? Who's triggering all of this? Who's the drama starter? Oh, was Kenny just there to rescue the poor dog and then someone bit him on the face? I don't know. But it's been nonstop tea, and inquiring minds want to know. For those of us who are old enough to remember that tagline. Filter, trying to make yourself look better. Things are not as they appear. Sugar-coated truth. I feel like that's the Elite, right? Oh no, we're the good guys. Like, look at our nostalgia rock song from the 80s that most of you are too young to even remember.
Or it's Tony, because Tony putting on the face that, everything's good in the locker room. Everything is clearly not good.
Everything is clearly not good.
Give me both.
Anything else to add from these? All right,
I think the bye Felicia is definitely someone walking away. I really think... As much as he's signed big agents, I've been trying to keep up on the internet for the WWE side, and I think there's a few of his talent coming up for free agency.
Mm-hmm.
And Tony better know that Paul and the WWE are going to clip him of one of his.
Yeah, I mean, he did a lot of 4-year deals back in 2019, right? Isn't that what they're saying?
Yes.
So with the exception of Jericho, who's signed for life,
right,
and I think Moxley, who is signed for a lot of years after, and this just happened after All Out.
Yep.
Right, as he loved to remind people, he didn't even have a contract. Right. He was just doing a favor and whatever. So CM Punk should be thanking him and kissing his behind.
No disrespect, I think Moxley's head is so big now. Like, he is so overgassed, so overpaid, and so overgassed.
Sorry, not huge John Moxley fans over here. If you disagree with us,
I don't hate Moxley. I like earlier Moxley.
Let us know in the comments.
I'm not a fan of the eat your blood, stabbing people with forks in the face Moxley. Sorry, I do like earlier Moxley. I'm not a fan of this version of the Abdullah the Butcher Moxley. Where he's literally licking people's blood and biting foreheads. It's kind of weird.
Right. But if you saw how these cards just fell, go back and look at the Bray Wyatt video that probably just went up like yesterday by the time this one goes up, and you will see me literally give up on this deck because none of these cards wanted to talk about Bray Wyatt because there was too much light in these cards. Okay, back to the topic at hand. Tony Khan, what do we got? Waiting for something and someone, delaying action, patience. Sure, that could be CM Punk, but it could also be, something juicy that's hidden. Again, there is almost certainly going to be
oh my God, sorry.
A big reveal for
Isn't
Wembley.
Nick Aldis from England? Like, allegedly,
yes, he is.
Tony Khan was on the phone with a big free agent. Like, I don't know what Aldis contract...
Right, if he actually signed
Yeah, I don't know. But Aldis would be another good catch to add to that Wembley. I was just sitting here thinking
I would hate that for Nick Aldis, but that would be a good catch for Tony.
Yes.
Use it. If you get him, Tony, use him correctly.
Please.
I'm sick of people not using Nick Aldis right. He is a star. Bring that man into your company and push him to the moon, and bring his wife, because she is an even bigger star.
Right, or just have her run the women's division. Because, good Lord, the women's division needs an elder female back there.
Drawing closer. Something's around the corner, attracting the right things, bringing closer together. Oh no, and I don't think that's CM Punk, because we already know about CM Punk, or feel like we do. So maybe that's Punk, but I think that we're waiting for something that's gonna be a shock, because they can't bring CM Punk in and keep it quiet. So that there's gonna be something that big news. Tony loves big news, so I think more big news is coming. We're at a crossroads. Crucial decision must be made. Moments of change, make or break. Look, this is a risky move with having another show and basically having a brand split. Again, I don't feel like they're ready for it. They've got plenty of people on the roster.
The roster is deep.
But do they have enough talent on the roster? I'm not so sure, but they are at a crossroads, and if they play this right, man, they step right back onto the island of relevancy, for lack of a better word. Loneliness, walking a lonely path, feeling deserted, neglected, no support system. You know what? I bet Tony does feel that way, because everyone is telling him, stop being buddy-buddy with these guys. And he might be like, but that's all I got. These are like my only friends. I doubt that's true, right? I mean, he's a grown man. He's been in all kinds of businesses already.
Yeah, but like when you have that kind of money, I think until you're in that position, and honestly, I think with that net worth he has, his circle has to be even smaller.
Yes.
Because it's not only
too risky.
It's not only him, it's his family that's worth billions of dollars.
Yes. Dignity, standing in your truth, loving yourself first and not compromising. Okay, we've seen other cards like this. We had the self-care card. This is what Tony needs to do, right? He needs to put in some self-care, right? If he's got bad habits, take care of them, allegedly for entertainment purposes. But love yourself first and not compromise. Don't be bullied by these like indie-rific, cowboys in your locker room. You are the businessman, you are the boss. Stand up and do it, right? And that includes Chris Jericho. Yes, Chris Jericho's got 30 plus years in the business now, but he hasn't run a promotion and he's not the boss. So don't treat him like he's the boss. Sacred alchemy, magical process of creation, creating a life of magic, union with the divine. We always see this card for people of great wealth and power. If you've watched us before, you know our opinion that regardless of how mundane a person's public persona may be, if they're a person of great wealth and power, they are associating with the arts or have practitioners that work with them, related to, the most auspicious timing for doing things. We saw the divine time card, I think, in the first deck. Advising who to work with or to not work with. This card, there's no way a family with wealth in the billions is not covering all of their bases when it comes to abundance and timing. And the sacred absolutely plays a role there. If you're watching this channel, I think you must have an idea what we're speaking about. Surrender, no longer fighting or resisting, letting things be, allowing, giving up control. Could he finally hire a booker? Could that be? Because that's probably the number one piece of advice that the talking heads give, right? Tony, get a booker. It's not your job. Breakthrough. We've had the breakthrough card from other decks. Escaping from what controlled you. Breakthrough to success and important development. I think this is going to be a good year, right? We saw the autumn harvest coming. I think these next, 4 to 6 months are going to be big for AEW, and that includes not only Punk coming back, but one, maybe more surprises, probably centered around the Wembley event. But I think that there might be something even before then, especially with Forbidden Door coming up at the end of June. Containing one's old feelings, restraining oneself, repressed emotions. Okay, act like a businessman, not a play date.
That's hard for him.
That is hard for him, right? We've seen it from the very beginning. Libras struggle with that sort of personal relationship where you want people to be your buddy, but you're also trying to be the boss. Freedom, power to do what you want, celebrating independence. Nothing can stop you. He's got the resources, right? He's got the creativity. If he puts the right bodies doing the right jobs, nothing can stop him. By the way, I'm going to go ahead and admit it. This is a much more optimistic worldview than I was expecting coming into here. Oh, here we go. Doubting, unsure about something, someone, lack of trust and confidence. The choice is unclear. I think he probably does have doubts about some of the things. Maybe his dad has doubts of, putting a lot of resources into some particular avenues. But I think if Tony trusts himself and he works with his head instead of his heart, that the path is open. The path is open. There's a lot of opportunities here. We're running a little long, but I do want to at least check out this golden deck because this is technically a very business-driven, abundance-driven deck, right? It's a lot about workplace and so on. Oof. All right, that's a lot of cards that just dropped. Let's jump right into these, see what we've got. Calypso, if you've got anything to say, jump on in. I'm not trying to...
I do think he's lonely, sad, and depressed.
Mm-hmm.
Genuinely. I think some of that fertility and courting somebody, I think Tony might have had a little woman in his life or man. I don't know what his preference is, right? And I'm not judging. Which is also adding to the loneliness, right? Like, I don't think he can sustain relationships well with everything he keeps taking on. So his personal life, it definitely hits the slammer. I just was looking at some of the cards that was left in your, in your shuffle, and I'm like, yeah, no, it reinforced lonely, sad, and depression, and so he copes with unhealthy habits. So he definitely has unhealthy habits, and
get that self-care.
Right?
Get it taken care of.
I really don't think he has a good friendship circle outside of his family. And for him, I mean, like, I get that, right? Like, you grow up with your family all the time. Sometimes it's nice to have energies that's not your family,
right,
to be around. I do think sometimes he doubts himself, right? Because he's constantly looking at the Fed. Like, I hate that for him, that his company will never be able to be itself because it's not the territory days, right? He's always going to be in WWE's shadow. I feel like even when he does really well, it's always going to be compared to the Fed. And people will never let Tony Khan's company just be Tony Khan's company, unfortunately. But I don't think he's a bad person. Like, I don't see anything that makes him seem like a bad person yet. Like, have you felt that?
No, I really haven't. And the toxic cards that we've gotten really feel like it's about that locker room. Yes. Again, we know he's a complicated guy. We know what his flaws and weaknesses are. We've known that from those first 5 cards with the astrology and the numerology. Everything else has really just been reinforcing that until here, where we're really looking at, I think, that good things are coming for the business. And I was just kind of peeking at the cards that fell out during that shuffle, and it looks pretty positive.
I hope he has a breakthrough, and I hope he finds someone who can ground him.
Okay, we've got progress. It seems like a long slog, but your efforts will pay off. Stay on course for a few more months before making a change. Okay, so progress is being made. Good times are ahead. The future. Plan for the future while living in the present. You are always supported by spirit. There we go. That's sacred alchemy. Your psychic abilities can bring you prosperity. Right?
So he has some gifts.
He has some gifts, right? In addition to that creativity, right? He has a spiritual foundation. Prickly situation. You need both tact and diplomacy to reach your goals. The struggle is worth the prize. Work around the issue and use a gentle touch. Well, working around the issue and using a gentle touch is probably the one strength he has going into this, right? That this is literally saying, don't meet the confrontation head on. And maybe that's exactly what he's doing, right? This idea of, oh no, I'll give you guys a show over here, and you can have a show over here on a different night, and that's a solution to this prickly situation. Maybe it'll work. Brilliance. You discover your own genius by breaking away from the grind, follow your own inspiration, your ideas bring recognition. Look at these three together, right? It's like you've got the future is wound up in this barbed wire, right? But on the inside, there's this glowing
and breakthrough.
Brilliant.
A lot of light can be had
right?
from all this.
But I mean, these three in particular, with the sphere or ovoid thing, it's almost like these are three stages of the same card. Frozen. Gosh, we always pull this card when we talk about the WWE. There may be a hiring freeze or no new work. Being aloof can leave you out in the cold. A warm follow-up gets you in the door. This is crazy because everything I've been saying about, oh, these are Tony's weaknesses, it's saying, no, glad hand people, be a buddy, right? A warm follow-up might get you in the door. So this tact and diplomacy, instead of the iron fist, might actually be the key to winning this thing.
Or the fact that, here's my take, just not to butt heads with you, I always see things sometimes a little differently. I also think that could mean, because the WWE is having a hiring freeze and probably you're going to cut a lot of talent, it's an opportunity for Tony Khan to get some gems.
Right, that there will be some bodies on the street.
At a lower price.
True.
And he should stop overpaying people.
My goodness.
But be diplomat, right? Like, court them with honey, right? That know you'll have a safe workplace and somewhere to fall on your feet, right? Now, I think that hiring freeze really, because anytime we've ever pulled it, it dealt with the Fed. Mm-hmm. And I think all these spears is the future that, no, he's going to acquire some talent.
Right, we got three spheres in a cube.
Yes.
Well, one of these things is not like the other.
Right. And I think that freeze is actually going to pay to Tony Khan's advantage. I'm not saying he's not going to lose some soldiers himself, though, in this.
But he needs to.
He should.
Okay, let's finish this up. Signs. You are putting together pieces of the puzzle from the signs you are getting. Pay attention to the coincidences you experience. If I'm being honest, that one's directed to me. that we're putting together the pieces of this puzzle and pay attention to the coincidences. I think this story is really coming together here. Passage. Gosh, we see this boat all the time when we use this deck. Your current situation is a mean to an end. You're making the uncertain voyage to a new world. Enjoy the discoveries where you go. I think that Wembley show is key, right? They're on the boat, right? They're doing the travel. Wembley is going to be, we had that Crossroads card earlier. That's where the Crossroads junction point is going to be. And cultivation. You're in the growing phase right now. You must continue to water the seeds you have planted in order to reap rewards. That says exactly the same thing as this progress card, right? It's a long slog. Stay the course. I feel good about this. I am much more optimistic about the future of AEW. I think that this summer and into the fall, we are going to see some great content. And and I feel like this business is gonna experience a growth in success by whatever measure, but it's gonna take some work. And for the first time, I think Tony's sort of sideways approach to dealing with situations is gonna pay off for him. Any closing words?
I'm rooting for Tony Khan. Like, even though I'm not a fan of some of the booking choices currently and some of the talent that I really liked and was hoping they would do better in AEW, I'm hoping honestly that he unplugs and that he starts listening to some outside voices, that not the people he pay. Like, I need him to listen to some people who have unbiased opinions, right, about the product and the circle of, like, people who are consuming the content, right? And I think he could benefit from not getting offended, because Libras are sensitive.
I don't know what you're talking about.
To not get offended of people who are like, no, I really want to see your product do good, but I really think sometimes I think he really does try to force some of these, I don't want to say the pillars, like the AEW locker room. Like, don't get me wrong, a lot of them guys are indie guys. They haven't been on TV, and now they're getting exposed to TV, and now they feel entitled to it. And I think I really wish he would get the tag team division, because I think the key for Tony is his tag team division. That's why I first started watching.
It's true. It's what sets him apart, because WWE was really struggling in that area.
Exactly. So I'm like, go back to looking at that tag team division. And I also think his other key is possibly cultivating his women's division, because the WWE's women's division is floundering again. Like, he needs to look at where the WWE is weak right now and pick up where they are weak at.
Right, and it's not going to be the men's championship, because Roman is unassailable.
He is. And as much as I like MJF, I just don't think he's the one to go head to head with Roman right now. I don't want to say that because I like MJF, but I think his character is taking a turn that's not going to compete with Roman.
Right, like
this run.
Man, MJF as a heel is very entertaining, but he's kind of becoming a comedy character heel.
And he is. And if you can say what you want, but I think Kenny Omega is his best champion in that locker room. I'm not even
as a face.
As a face.
As a baby face.
I think Kenny needs to separate from the Young Bucks, and he needs the strap and go in there and fight CM Punk for that belt. I do. Even if they don't do the whole FTR tag team thing or whatever, let FTR fight FTR fight the Bucks in a separate tag team match for the belts at Wembley, and Punk and Kenny Omega, and we need a heel Punk. There's your Wembley booked out.
Time is perfect for a heel Punk.
It is. So I hope he takes constructive criticism, and I'm cheering for AEW to get better. There was like 2 months recently that I loved AEW, and then the last month I'm like, oh my God, what is this again? It goes through ups and downs. But yeah, I am cheering AEW because I don't want just WWE. That would be boring. AEW clearly put pressure on them that their last year Mania was really good, and that this year I thought it was good, and I thought it was mid at the same time. So AEW, put the pressure. This is definitely the opportunity. Put the pedal to the metal.
There you go. The time is right. Put the pedal to the metal. Seize some opportunities. We'll let that be the last word. Thanks very much for watching Wrestling Tea Tarot. If you haven't already, be sure to like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Leave us a comment. What do you think about what's going on in All Elite Wrestling? What other topics would you like to hear us discuss? And thanks again for watching. We will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.